Shri Guru Charane Rate Eshiyu Tamagati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Jai Prasade Pure Sarva चक्षुदान दिल जय जन जन प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिल जय जन जन प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते मेरे गाय जहर चरिता मेरे गाय से गुरु कारण सिंधु अधम नर बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवना लोकनाथ प्रभु कर गया देह मुझे पद छाया एवे जस घोष त्रिभुवना एवे जस घोष त्रिभुवना जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय जय प्रभु पाद प्रभु पाद प्रभु पाद जय जय प्रभु पाद विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने विष्णु सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री Gaura Sundar Jaya Gaura Sundar. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Parividikacharya, Astatarasatasi, Srimati Divine Grace, Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitya Leela Vishnu Paramahamsa, Parividikacharya, Astatarasatasi, Srimati Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopina Shyam Kundra Thakur Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna Mai ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Brihad Radanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundara ki, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Somebody has cartels. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Bhagavatam, please. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravana-chadi Yamuna Tiravana-chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Girivadadadi Gopijana Vallabha Girivadadadi Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Jivana Yamuna Jivana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivijagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi. Is there somebody up there in that sound room? Can that somebody up in the sound room put on the screen Canto 3, Chapter 4, text number which one is it? 5, 6, 7? 7? 6 and 7. Okay. 4? 4 and 5. 5 has no purport. Let's go to text 7. Let's go to text 6. Those of you that have handheld devices, and you know how to use them, you can look up 3.4.6, and we'll discuss 4, 5, and 6. Very short purports here. Text 6. Ready? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Adraksham ekam asinam vichinvan dayatam patim Shri Niketam Sarasvatyam Kritaketam Aketanam Adraksham Ekam Asinam Vichinvan Dayatam Patim Shri Niketam Sarvasvatyam Kritaketam Aketanam. Someone from the men's side can chant. Adraksham ekam asinam vichinvandayatam patim Shri Niketam Sarasvatyam Kritam Ketam Aketanam. Adraksham ekam asinam Vichinvandayatam patim Shri Niketam Sarasvatyam Krita Ketam. Ladies. Adraksham ekam asinam Vichinvandayatam patim Shri Niketam Sarvasvatyam Ketam Aketanam Adraksham ekam asinam Vichinvandayatam patim Ketam Sarasvatyam Krita Ketam Ketam Vichinvandayatam patim Jiniketam Sarasvatyam Adraksham. I saw Ekam alone Asinam sitting Vichinvan deeply thinking Dayatam patron Patim master Shri Ketam the shelter of the goddess of fortune Sarasvatyam on the bank of the Saraswati Krita Ketam taking shelter Aketanam being situated without a shelter. So I'll read the translation, we'll go back, and then we'll read the translation again. Thus following, I saw my patron and master, Lord Sri Krishna, sitting alone and deeply thinking, taking shelter on the bank of the river Saraswati, although he is the shelter of the goddess of fortune. So we're going back to text 4, and then we'll go forward to 6 again. Translation for text 4. The Lord is the vanquisher of the distresses of one who is surrendered unto him. Thus, he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badrikashram. Purport. While at Dwarka, Uddhava was warned to avoid the distresses which were to follow the disappearance of the Lord and the destruction of the Yadu dynasty. He was advised to proceed to Badrikashram because there he could associate with the devotees of Narayana, and in their association of devotional service he could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. Translation for text 5. Yet, in spite of my knowing his desire to destroy the dynasty, O Arindama Vidura, I followed him because it was impossible for me to bear separation from the lotus feet of the Master. And the translation for this verse. Thus following, I saw my patron and master, Lord Sri Krishna, sitting alone and deeply thinking, taking shelter on the bank of the river Saraswati, although he is the shelter of the goddess of fortune. Purport. Those who are in the renounced order of life often take shelter underneath a tree. The Lord was found by Uddhava in that condition of taking shelter, as do persons who have no shelter. Because he is the proprietor of everything, everywhere is his shelter, and everywhere is under his shelter. The entire material and spiritual cosmic manifestation is sustained by him, and therefore he is the shelter of everything. So there was nothing astonishing in his taking shelter in the way of the unsheltered, or in the renounced order of life. Om Jnana Timirandasya Kananjana Salakaya Chakshun Meditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thinking about what the subject matter of this verse is, on the one hand, but on the other hand, on the one hand, it's like whiplash. We just had deity welcoming, and this morning is Krishna's departing. And on the other hand, according to our founder Acharya, the appearance and disappearance of the Lord are the same. This appearance and disappearance of the Lord's devotee is the same. So those are contradictions, yes? They're not the same, because otherwise we wouldn't have different terminologies. However, the sameness has to do with the transcendentalness of the Supreme Lord. How is that? Within Vedic literature, within Bhagavad Gita, within the Upanishads, within the Bhagavatam, within the Vedic literature, the statements of contradiction are abundant. Yes? Ishopanishad. He walks and he does not walk. He's within everything, but he's outside of everything. He's very near and he's very far away as well. Contradiction. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. Everything is within me, but behold, everything is not within me. Behold my mystic power. Contradictions, apparent contradictions. So how to reconcile contradictions? Or the appearance of the Lord and the disappearance of the Lord are reconciled in the sense that they are pastimes of the Lord, or to understand unity and diversity, or to understand reconciliation of apparent contradictions. And the reconciliation includes Krishna is everything. So within Krishna is this, and within Krishna is that. And to say within Krishna is this, and within Krishna is that is correct, because within Krishna is everything. Although if you just take this or just take that, they're contradictions. You can't have this if it's that. If you have that, it can't be this, because they're contradictions. He can't be inside everything and outside of everything. Just like we can be in this room, we can't be outside the room. If we're outside the room, we can't be in this room. But he can be inside and outside at the same time. Everything is within him and everything is not within him. Same. He's one of a kind. We're not like that. Because we're not like that doesn't mean he can't be like that, because that would be a contradiction. I'm taking some time to discuss something that, spiritually speaking, one needs guidance to understand statements of the scripture, because otherwise you use your little binary processor called the mind, and it bounces. It doesn't go in. It can't be this and that, because they're mutually exclusive or contradictory. A 1 is not a 0 is not a 1. And that's how the mind works. It's a binary processor, so it doesn't go in. So then when it has to go to a different position than the binary processor position, and then how are we going to understand it? Well, we can understand it by revelation. And how does revelation come? Revelation, according to one of my favorite verses these days, from Brahma Samhita, revelation comes according to faith. Here's the verse. It's just after, shortly after the Govinda prayers in the sequence of Brahma Samhita. Yadrashi yadrashi shraddha siddhi bhavati tadrashi. Yadrashi yadrashi shraddha. Yadrashi tadrashi. As this, so that. It's a comparison. It's announcing a metaphor. Over here is something, and over there is something. We can understand something unknown through something known. So this, so that. So, yadrashi shraddha. What does shraddha mean? It means faith. Shraddha. According to one's shraddha, faith, siddhi bhavati. Bhavati means arises, or voila in French. It happens. It becomes manifest. Bhavati. And siddhi bhavati. Bhaktisiddhanta's translation in his English word for siddhi is realization. Realization manifests according to one's shraddha. Or it doesn't manifest if one doesn't have faith. It's exactly what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita twice. Without faith, moga shamoga karma no. Moga jnana vacheta saha. Defeated, or defeated. Moga. So one cannot understand, one's fruitive activities are not going to be successful. Nothing is successful. Defeated if there isn't faith. Supposing one has faith in Karmakanda. Supposing one doesn't have faith in Bhagavan or Bhagavad Dharma, one has faith in Karmakanda. One will get result according to faith. It's the same principle. And faith leads to proper conduct, and proper conduct leads to accumulation of piety, and piety leads to results. Impiety leads to results. The faithless go down. Mogasha. So, back to the text. That was all a detour. What we did yesterday, what we're doing today, or hearing today. It's Leela of the Supreme Lord. And the person who is narrating the Leela of the Supreme Lord is a knower of the Supreme Lord. He has faith. He also has direct experience. Because of his faith, he's provided the opportunity of direct experience. And going back, this is Canto 3, and the narrator is, because there's some persons that haven't been with us the past few days, the narrator is Uddhava. One of the things one can say about Uddhava is, outside of Vrindavan, he is the most elevated Vaishnava outside of Vrindavan. That's saying something, because there's many elevated Vaishnavas. The most elevated Vaishnava outside of Vrindavan, and for that reason, Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. For multiple reasons. He was a trusted messenger. Krishna wanted him to carry a message, which he did. But he also wanted Uddhava to then experience the unique, unequaled love of the residents of Vrindavan in comparison to all those who were outside of Vrindavan, because he hadn't been to Vrindavan. And so he had this experience of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. And he aspired, as we're encouraged by Rupa Goswami's teachings, to aspire for that. It's called Raga Marg, or Raga Nuga Bhakti. It's right in Rupa Goswami's teachings, but aspire for that love, and there's procedures, etc., described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Uddhava is such a Ragatmika Bhakta, or Raga Bhakta. And he knows Krishna. How does he know Krishna? By revelation. What's his qualification? Faith, unparalleled, unequaled kind of faith, and thus realization of Krishna. So I spent a fair amount of time, I took some guidance from a very learned godbrother to sort out the sequence of events, because I got confused. So I'll share with you a sketch of the sequence of events for Uddhava and Uddhava's exchanges with Krishna. Uddhava is with Krishna in Dwarka for the whole duration of time that Krishna was in Dwarka. He gave him some services and some message carrying kind of services, but he was with Krishna the whole time. So he was so intimate with Krishna, he knew when Krishna was going to depart. And so he approached Krishna in Dwarka. And the celebrated Uddhava Gita, everyone's nodding. Anyone's like, you all know what Uddhava Gita is. You know what Uddhava Gita is? You know what Bhagavad Gita is, right? Krishna speaks to Arjuna. So Krishna also speaks to Uddhava. It's found in the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. And it's Krishna speaking to Uddhava. But instead of Bhagavad Gita, it's Uddhava Gita. Uddhava is such a celebrated person that gets named after him. It's not Uddhava's talking, it's Krishna's talking to Uddhava. And that takes place in Dwarka. There's a nice painting I like. I regularly show it when I do visual presentations. Uddhava is holding on to Krishna's feet in Dwarka. And he's pleading with Krishna, take me with you. You're going to leave. I know it. In my heart, I know you're going to leave. Please take me. He doesn't say, please don't go. He says, please take me with you, because I can't bear separation. So that's Uddhava Gita. And at the end of Uddhava Gita, what we just heard is Krishna said, before it happened, I'm going to wind up my pastimes. You were right. And when I wind up my pastimes, all the members of the Yadu dynasty are also going to be taken back to where they came from. There's two places from which they came, the spiritual world, and some were demigods who took birth to assist Krishna in his pastimes. So I'm going to send them all back, and it's going to be heartbreaking. And I don't want you to be here to experience that. I want you to be able to sustain your Krishna bhakti. So he gave him an instruction, go to Badrik Ashram. And there you'll find the devotees of Narayana Rishi, and take their association. You can cultivate your bhakti continuing in Badrik Ashram and their association. That there's another explanation that's given that Krishna also indicated to Uddhava that I came in this world to give my association to many. I never made it to Badrik Ashram. So you go on my behalf, you deliver my messages to them, because I just spoke Uddhava Gita. So you can pass it on. Do book distribution in Badrik Ashram. Through sound. So he left. But he couldn't bear it. So he came back. He never made it. I mean, he eventually made it, but he didn't make it. He came back. This is the sequence. And when he came back, he saw what's described here. On the bank of the river Saraswati. And it's in this situation, maybe you've seen the painting. The painting is Krishna is leaning against a young banyan tree with forearm form. And there's Uddhava with his palms folded and off at a little bit of a distance. There's who? Starts with an M. Maitreya, right. Maitreya just happened to come along the right place at the right time and hear Krishna's parting instructions to Uddhava. And in that section, Krishna spoke of Vidura, three things. Krishna told him again, some exchange, and told Uddhava, go to Badrik Ashram, like I told you. And very soon, Vidura is going to come. So soon Vidura came. And when Vidura came, he said, oh, Uddhava, how nice to see you. Because Uddhava had started heading from this place, which is by the bank of the river Saraswati. I got ahead of myself. Uddhava started going, and he got as far as Vrindavan, in the forest of Vrindavan, and that's where Vidura saw him. That's where this discussion is taking place, because one of the verses was, Uddhava is speaking to Vidura. He gives a name of, rather than Vidura, but in a family relation, is Vidura. And when Vidura heard that just before Krishna's departure, he thought of him. He was so happy. Like, the Lord is thinking of me. How fortunate. And then after some exchange that's going on in these chapters with Vidura, Vidura said to Uddhava said to Vidura, you're asking further questions. Two things. I have a service. I have to go to Badrik Ashram. And very nearby here is Maitreya, so go to Maitreya and have discussions with Maitreya, because he's elder to me, and Vedic culture says, sometimes it's not observed, but it should be, those who are elder and vastly learned, like Maitreya, the deference is given to them. Even one may have qualification X, Y, Z. Culture is the elder, learned person is to be honored. It's just, without that, we don't have Vedic culture, we have something else. So that hasn't happened yet, that's coming attractions. But at this stage, that's the chronology or the sequence of events. And Krishna is, the verse that we read, he is in deep contemplation. Now, our pujari was asking me, because in the previous class I had mentioned, this is about Krishna's departure, but the very last chapter of Canto 11 describes Balaram's departure. And I just commented it was very unique. So you asked me after class, tell me about it. What happened? So here's what happened. And there's very little written in the 11th canto, chapter 30, but it says, before Krishna departed, Balaram departed. Similarly, Balaram sat underneath a tree by the sea, because this is near Prabhas, and he was in deep meditation, and it says he merged his identity into the Supreme. Now he is the Supreme. Other Puranas describe something far out, and there's paintings that depict it. From his mouth came a form of Anantashesh. And he then went to the bed of Ananta and was transported to the spiritual world. That was Balaram's spectacular departure. Pretty unique. Pretty unique. But that's Balaram's departure. And then Krishna felt something. I mean, he's the Supreme Lord. So it's not that he's insentient, he's sentient. And he felt separation from Balaram. Although it's his plan, he felt separation from Balaram. And then he did all of this, what we're hearing. Sat beneath a tree, meditating deeply. And Uddhava comes along. And they have this exchange. That's what he's described. That's the section that we're in. So to repeat something that, especially for those of you that weren't with us earlier, for those that were with us earlier, no harm in hearing again and again. These are pastimes. We have this nice brush, the whitewash brush. Everything is just, we say it's lila. And it's nice because it's lila. But it's not just whitewash, it's lila. It's a pastime of the Supreme Lord. And how are pastimes of the Supreme Lord enacted? That's a good question. They're enacted through the agency of his potencies. Oh? What's the relationship between Krishna and his Lila Shakti? Lila Shakti is one of the sub-potencies of his internal potency, or Swarup Shakti. And Krishna just desires, and his Shaktis know exactly what he wants, and they do exactly what he wants. He doesn't have to do anything. He just desires. And then everything happens. That's for those who are in contact with the internal potency. That's a very special position, to be in contact with the internal potency. Because when one is in contact with the internal potency, Krishna's in charge, or Krishna's internal potency is in charge. Supposing one doesn't have that shelter, well, some persons think wrongly that they're independent, but there's no such thing. I'll say it again. I'll say it the other way. There's no such thing as being independent. So someone may think I'm independent. 4th of July in America is the Declaration of Independence. Sorry, Charlie. That's called Maya. You're not independent. But so independent of the British, all right, but not independent. So many things to say. So we're dependent. Dependent or dependent? We're dependent. So we're dependent on the external energy, and that acts one way. That's the shadow potency. And then there's the internal potency. Supposing those persons, back to where we started, that are faithless, they're not going to have any realization of transcendence, because that's a prerequisite. Krishna won't reveal truth. So if you don't have truth, what do you have? You have illusion, and you're operating with illusion as if it's truth. It's material life. In the course of my travels, just say a couple things and going to end, so get ready for an abrupt ending. In the course of my travels, I met a family. They have 2 boys and a girl, young. And there's not a temple in that area, so they're kind of new, but mom and dad they like Prabhupada's books, so that's their access to Krishna consciousness. And a little bit of association, but no temple, no regular hearing, not substantial regular hearing. Like, this is temples are a place for regular hearing, just as Devaki Nandan said yesterday. It's a place where there's deities, and it's a place where there's regular hearing, of course, prasadam. So, first evening, their elder of their children is Mr. Philosopher. And the topic, just sharing, but it's tangential, but it's on the topic. The topic was at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, and the topic was search for happiness. So at the end, one of the first questions was this older of the children saying, why is happiness important? His parents explained later, he's a philosopher. He wasn't just being smart. He wanted a philosophical answer of why happiness is important. So I explained something, and he stopped coming to the rest of the classes because his antenna didn't read it was a good answer. But the other children were coming to the other programs, and at the end of one of the programs, it was a public hall, big hall, place where they rent out, the YMCA rents out, and all across, just like as big as that wall over there, body, mind, spirit. So they rent the hall to people that do yoga and whatever else they do in their room. So at the end of this additional class, his younger brother came and asked the question. It's a faith question. He asked the question, why is it important to all this talk about the Supreme? Why not just get on with life? And I said, this sounds like his older brother is programming his younger brother. This isn't important. Talk about the Supreme, it's not important. Just get on with life. Just get on with life. Both those questions stuck with me because, they're in one sense they're good questions. And by reading Prabhupada's books and hearing Prabhupada speak, he addressed these questions again and again and again and again because it's important. That is to say, even people who are pious, what's the purpose? Why is the Supreme important and devotional service to the Supreme important? Why is it important? Like, what's reality as opposed to illusion? What's the internal potency as opposed to the external potency? Because the external potency doesn't see reality. The external potency sees the reality that's covered. So they see the covering. And that's it. That's it. And modern education, sorry to say, and modern culture is, although purportedly, to at least in some many places, to many people, it's theistic. It's not really theistic. Because theistic means something else. Taking shelter of the internal potency and serving and then getting some realizations based upon the faith and the extension of the internal potency. So the Bhagavatam is giving us all of that. And so we're like being introduced to Srimad Bhagavatam by the grace of our founder Acharya, and not only us, but the world. And the internal potency is being extended to us by the agency of the one who is carrying the internal potency. Because Bhakti Devi is Radharani's expansion. I'll say it again. Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So when we engage in bhakti, to the degree that that's what we're understanding, what we're doing, even if we don't understand what we're doing, we're getting touched by the internal potency, which gives us like an electric charge or spiritual charge to understand what we've forgotten, to remember what we've forgotten. So these are not fanciful stories or mythology or Harry Potter or, something. It's not imaginative. It's historical. Uddhava's revealing he's revealing Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, and details and details and details that otherwise we're not going to get access to except through this sound vibration and hearing it with some faith. And then something moves inside the heart, that is the cleansing of the heart and the awakening of what we've forgotten. It's a gradual process, has a lot to do with the regularity with which we do those things, and it also has a lot to do with the faith that we're carrying and, the association that we have daily, regularly. So there are many factors. But our founder, Acharya, very much wanted the world to receive this message, Srimad Bhagavatam, and message of transcendence, so that people could become happy instead of bound in the cycle of birth and death and not even knowing that it's unhappiness, although it's abundant. So that's a little discussion on this morning's few verses. Let's see if there's some questions.
Thank you very much for a wonderful class. So you mentioned one thing like Uddhava is a Ragatmika Bhakta. So my question is he become Ragatmika Bhakta by the association of the Gopis and Brajvasis, or he was Ragatmika Bhakta?
What do you think? You're asking a question that seems to have an obvious answer. So what's your understanding? How did he become? How does anyone become?
Yeah, my understanding is because as you explained in Mana Siksha, the Raga Marg was in that like Srila Raghunath Das Goswami prays to Vrindavan Brajvasis Association to get the Raga Marg. So my understanding is by
Nice
the association
going.
of the
You've answered your question, which I thought was the answer clear? Should I repeat the answer? In Manashiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami describes Ragamarg. And one of the ways, an essential way for Ragamarg to commence and unfold is the association like Uddhava received. It doesn't have to make a visit to Vrindavan and meet the gopis, but it's by sound, by associating the sound vibration of one who has that kind of love that becomes awakened. The possibility is for it to become awakened. And that's how it happened for Uddhava. He was attached to Krishna, and Krishna wanted him to experience this spontaneous love of the residents of Vrindavan, and so he received it, and he's now living in that realm of spontaneous love of the residents of Vrindavan. Although his residence was outside of Vrindavan, and his service to Krishna was largely outside of Vrindavan, but he had that kind of love. Yes?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for class, Maharaj. So Maharaj, my question is similar to Bhagavad Gita, there is Uddhava Gita.
Speak slowly.
Similar to Bhagavad Gita, there is a Uddhava Gita, and I heard that in Uddhava Gita has some other names like Hamsa Gita. So what is the significance of that name, Hamsa Gita?
Hamsa Gita, I don't know. I can guess, but I've not heard the term, I never heard this reference before. One of the names of the personality of Godhead is Hamsa Avatar. And one of the functions of Hamsa Avatar is giving transcendental knowledge to Lord Brahma. So I've never heard Bhagavad Gita described as Hamsa Gita, so I don't know the connection. I do know something about Hamsa Avatar. So I don't know how the two fit together, because I've never heard this before. So I would suggest you go to the persons who use that term and ask them that question. Where do you get this term, Hamsa Gita? You've heard it in class sometime. Bhagavad Gita as Hamsa Gita. Uddhava Gita as Hamsa Gita. I've not heard that either.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Just want to share some appreciation for the message that you have been actually repeating for even your last visit on this speculation about the inconceivability of the Lord.
Preparation for?
Speculation.
I can't hear. Speculation.
About.
Sorry. Everyone can hear, and I'm just.
I think we are still figuring out the sound system of the temple.
Okay. It's better than Chicago temple sound system, that's for sure. I struggle like anything with that sound system. Go ahead.
About the inconceivability of the Lord.
Intention.
Inconceivability.
Inconceivable potency.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your message is really helping to stay on the course with faith, irrespective of what mind says, yes.
You got it.
Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to ask some practical application question, Guru Maharaj. As we can see Shri Radha Shyam Sundar here, I know all our hearts were so moved and we just want to completely dedicate our lives. Obviously, last 3 days and last few weeks were going like that. But now that they're actually here, I wanted to ask, what are some of the ways that we don't take it for granted? And the second thing, considering the practicalities of our other worldly duties, how can we still deepen our... I guess what I wanted to ask is, take on more services and more responsibilities in spite of whatever other things happening in our life.
The second one, it's time management, and it's not. My recommendation in the time management department is it's not volume or quantity, it's quality. And whatever it is that you do directly or indirectly is something that you do in relation to the deity, and different persons have particular affinity for different deities. I mean, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of a devotee that has this amazing affinity for Radharaman in Vrindavan. I mean, they have their own deities, but their heart is with Radharaman in Vrindavan. So does it. I send them because I know they have that love. They my favorite deity, and you can see them dancing. Their heart is so. Where there's affinity, then the things that you do is for the Lord of your heart. So my response to the second question is let that affinity grow naturally. It doesn't have to be more. Just see your life in terms. My response connects to, in a more mature way, the whole mindfulness topic, which is a popular topic today. Mindfulness. So mind has everything to do with where the heart is, and where the heart is, whatever you're doing, it's in relation to where the heart is, unless you're absent. So therefore, mindfulness is where the heart is. And this is the first answer, is how to not become, again, complacent in business as usual kind of thing. Material conditioning is like that. As long as you're materially conditioned, it'll be like that. There's going to be ups and downs. The Anushtita Bhakti sine curve, there's going to be ups and downs. So how to get beyond the Anushtita Bhakti is to come to the stage of Nishtha. And even in the stage of, just listening to Prabhupada describing it in a class in Hawaii this morning, 1975, 74, Prabhupada was saying, mode of goodness is where the modes of ignorance and passion are diminished to the extent that the stage of steadiness is there. Is the mode of goodness is an indication that the stage of steadiness is there. And when the stage of nishtha is reached, it's not that that is a sign that one is a pure devotee. It means that the influence of ignorance, which is forgetfulness, and passion, getting so absorbed in stuff that I forget the mode of goodness, purpose of life. So when that stage of steadiness is reached, that's the nishtha stage. The influence is negligible. So how to get to that stage, which is another way of asking what your question is. You go through the anartha nivritti. You expect there's going to be the ups and the downs because of anarthas within. It is not something outside of yourself. It's just the influence of things inside. The modes of nature, specifically ignorance and passion, and the extent to which that clouds reality. So we've been experiencing something closer to reality. I just had a little conversation with the head priest that just left us. He showed me, I said, where are you going next? And he's going to Delhi. And he pulled out his phone and showed me the magic on his phone, that there's a 7-foot, did he show you the same photo? He's going to Delhi before Nrsimha Chaturdasi. He's going to be installing a 7-foot Nrsimha deity at Radha Parthasarathi temple in Delhi. 7-foot deity and a small prahlad. Then he just volunteered, what it's like, doing what having the service that he has. I mean, we've had, so responsive to your question, we've had some experience. But he was meditating as Premananda and some others with full absorption, but he's going to go from this one to the next one. And he described, leading up to it, there's absorption. While it's going on, there's total absorption. It's just the deity that I'm installing and trying to be the proper transmitter of not only the mantras, but, the installation, the pran pratishtha. The life is now, and as they said, now in our hands. So, and then now he's going to go to the next one. He said, so now he's already meditating on the next one. So what's next for you? Which is what your second question was. So it's the steadiness as opposed to the sine curve phenomena is when the nartas are gone. So the next meditation and absorption. It doesn't mean it has to be something else, but whatever that feeling cleansed by the experience, wanting to not lose that experience or have it fade, know it's going to fade because the modes of nature and the anarthas in the heart is going to cause it to be not the same. So how do I get purity? Absorption. And implementate, because as you said, it's a practical application question. How do I practically apply myself to the stage of bhajana kriya so that the anarthas can go more quickly? And there'll be less of the sine curve or bungee cord effect, because it's just how things are in this world. How can I stay in the mode of goodness is another way of asking your question. When the Tada rajastamo bhava kama lobhadayashi cheta etarnabhid sitvam statves prasidati. It's right in the Bhagavatam. So then you apply yourself to the sadhana and with proper intention in that sadhana. So the sadhana bhakti, nicely performed, will get you there. In good association. Until then, expect the sine curve. Okay. Anyone? Yes?
I just wanted to, I was thinking about the...
Probably lots of things. Probably lots of things.
Actually, one particular thing about the early 90s when you started serving here as the GBC, and there was no devotees here. And I can never forget that because...
Well, you were here.
Yeah.
And you're a devotee, so don't say no devotees.
So you came.
I did.
Just like you are still coming here.
Yes.
Systematically, not even a break, from those days till present, you are always with us. And I'm not thinking about the building or anything. I mean, Shri Radha Shyamasundar, they're looking wonderful on the...
Yes, they are. Very nice outfit too, compliments.
Yes, but I mean, when devotees are thinking about what they should do, and your message has always been, you are always into training and education and systematically doing things and doing with intention, and so many things you have taught.
It's not a new message.
So many different things you have taught. And I I feel like there is no lack of service. Even if you take a look around, this is like a forest now. So I cannot even bear.
Here's one. See that light that's flickering up above the stage? Look around. There's always some service.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for the patience with which you have been training us over so many years and staying with us this past 3 days and doing anything and everything I asked of you. I'm so very, very grateful. And, this is all because of you. I have to say that. I know you wouldn't want me to say it.
Yeah, well, I'll take your message and turn it around and say what I said to Anutama. This is not Krishna's sanction, but Krishna's plan. From the get-go. From the get-go. Krishna had a plan. We didn't know what Krishna's plan was, but the plan's been moving, and the plan's been moving. Things happened that was just very clearly, it was just Krishna's plan. And some of us stepped in and said, okay, let me be part of the plan. So, as the messages that this is my response to your statement. You're giving me credit, and I'm saying I was just a pawn, or maybe a castle or something on Krishna's chessboard. He had a plan, and that's what we're just little people that are striving with the desire to do some service as an instrument of the Supreme Lord's plan. And there's no limit. Is there a limit? There's no limit to what any one of us could do and, may do, depending upon, our Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't over-endeavor or, do something cuckoo, but just be an instrument. And there's more to come in Krishna's plan. Depends on how we reciprocate as instruments. Not just maintaining the building and all those things. Making sure the light gets fixed, and there's things. But it's not those. That's part. But the essence behind it is the mode of service, and looking for where there's some opportunity that matches what my capacity is, and you step forward and do that, and then the next thing and the next thing. That's Krishna consciousness. Starting something is difficult. Maintaining it is more difficult. It's the same question asked, or my comment is the same thing as my reply to Amrita Kelly. There's a discussion point over here. Govinda Mohini. Bring the microphone. Quickly. Don't dilly-dally. Just go with her so then you can bring it to the next one. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, this point you made about when we do services, the quality is more important than quantity.
Yes.
So sometimes I feel for chanting, since I'm not able to offer so much of a quality, I would like to increase the quantity.
That will help.
Is that...
that will help.
So for chanting, does the same rule apply? Like focus on quality, but if you're not...
Well, it's not... let me edit your question. It's the same rule. Does the same rule apply? The goal is, what's the goal? The goal is to revive our loving relationship with Krishna. So whatever enhances or strengthens our loving relationship with Krishna, that's good. That's something that we say yes to as far as we can, within our capacity. So qualitative can be enhanced by quantitative. It's just like your son. I was told your son is chanting 32 rounds a day, or at least was when he was in, the brahmacharya ashram with Uttama Shloka, chanting 32 rounds. So how qualitative were those 32 rounds? Who can say? But, it's part of what may help qualitative. Quantitative may help. So what's the editing to your question is, the rule that applies is whatever strengthens our affinity and absorption in Krishna. That's what we want. And so that's the criterion. And it's not easy to what about this or versus that? But if you're whether you go it's this or that, if the purpose is the right purpose, you'll get there. And we have some minimum standards given to us by our founder Acharya, and we're just following our founder Acharya as far as the minimum standards specific to initiation. But there's a lot to say on that topic. Anything else? Someone raised their hand? Who raised their hand? Nobody. Okay. Anything online? No. Srila Prabhupada ki? You have one? And a small announcement. Give that lady the microphone. Go quickly.
We have made a small, simple prasadam for everybody downstairs. And if you are all staying here, you don't have anything important to do, please come back here because we have a lot of work. Appreciate that very much.
You're looking for some volunteers to help?
Yes. There's
Who do they see? You or do you have a temple commander yet?
There is nobody here other than me. I have to be here right now. There isn't any manager here right now.
Okay, great.
So please take prasadam and come back if you can. How many people can come back? I want to see a show of hands. Only one person can come back. 2. That's it. 3. On this side. 1, 2. Okay, I have 5 people. Thank you.